Hello, this is Monica Donahue, your instructor for Medical Terminology 1. This is Chapter 2, Prefixes. The objectives for this chapter are to be able to define a prefix and state the rule for using prefixes in words, correctly identify at least 20 prefixes that deal with numbers, colors, measurements, and negatives, correctly identify at least 10 prefixes that deal with position and direction, correctly identify at least 30 other prefixes, correctly identify at least 10 other combining forms related to this chapter's vocabulary, and demonstrate the ability to create at least 10 new words using prefixes by completing the applicable exercises at the end of the chapter. We use prefixes in our everyday life. Diagram, pretest, antibiotics or antibiotics, blood transfusion. So prefixes are word elements. Prefixes have their own meaning, but when you use different prefixes, attach those to different roots or combining forms, then the medical word changes meaning. But a prefix always means the same thing. So let's look at some examples. Lateral is a combining form that means side. You can tell this is a combining form because it has the slash diagonal followed by a letter. Al is the suffix, which means pertaining to. So when we take lateral and use different prefixes with it, we get different words. Bilateral, pertaining to two sides. Unilateral, pertaining to one side. Ambilateral, pertaining to both sides. Here's another example. Neo is the combining form that means breathing. A is a suffix that makes a word a noun. So when we add dis, a, and brady to nia, we make different medical words. So dyspnea or dyspnea means difficult breathing. Apnea or apnea is a noun that means the absence of breathing. Bradypnea or bradypnea, not Brady, is a noun that means slow breathing. So prefixes can represent numbers and measurement. So you know that bi means two or double, and you already know that a bicycle has two wheels. A bicuspid has 2 points. We have 3 prefixes that mean the same thing, and tradition will determine which of the 3 we will use. So you have to break out your dictionary if you are unsure which is the preferred prefix that means half. So demi means half, as in demi-lune, demi-lune. So lune should look like the word lunar, which means moon. And so demi-moon is a half-moon shape. So you may have seen a table that is a circle on one side, or half a circle, that people put up against the wall. So demi-lune, half-moon. Hemi also means half, as in hemiplegia, hemiplegia. Now please make yourself this important note, as this will be on many tests this semester. Hemiplegia does not mean that half the body is paralyzed. Hemiplegia is not the same thing as paraplegia. Paraplegia, the bottom half of the body is paralyzed. Hemiplegia, one side of the body, one side of the body, one half of the body sideways, means paralyzed. So please make sure you understand that. Semi means half, so semi-conscious or semi-conscious, and that's what most of us are if we have to make an 8 o'clock class in the morning. Milli means 1/1000th. So a milliliter is 1/1000th of a liter. Mono means one or single. So a monocyte is a cell that has one nucleus. Nulli means none. So think nullify. Nullipara is someone who has had no children. So think para for parent. So nullipara, this person has not had any pregnancies and given birth. Now, the next one, Primee. So Primee, not like the word prim, it's like the word primate. So Primee gravida or Primee gravida, there is some disagreement on what is the correct way to say that. Someone from Great Britain or the Caribbean islands might put the stress on the vita, so Primee gravida, or you might hear Primee gravida. You may also hear Primee gravida because it's just easier to say than primate. But it should be a long I sound, Primee. Primee. Quadri is a prefix that means 4, as in quadriplegia, which you know means all 4 limbs, all 4 extremities are paralyzed. Tetra is another word that means 4. So tetraplegia means the same thing as quadriplegia. And tetraplegia is gaining more favor in the medical community as the preferred term for this condition. Now here's another word for you with tetra. Tetradactyly. Tetradactyly. So dactyly is referring to fingers or toes. So someone with tetradactyly has 4 fingers or 4 toes. So tetra, think of the old video game Tetris where you had to get 4 lines to line up. Tetra, 4. Tri, you know, means 3. You know a tricycle has 3 wheels. A tricep is a muscle that has 3 heads. 3 heads are better than 1. Uni means 1, as in a unicycle. Again, a unicycle has 1 wheel. Uninuclear means that there is 1 nucleus. Hyper, which we saw last chapter, has many meanings, and you have to determine which of the different meanings is more appropriate for your word. So hyper can mean excessive, more than normal, above. So hyperlipemia, emia means blood condition, lipo means fat, not lip, fat. So hyperlipemia is a blood condition of excessive or more than normal fat. Hyperemesis. Emesis means vomiting. So hyperemesis means a person is vomiting excessively. And I don't know about you, but just once is enough. But hyperemesis, they keep going and going. Not a very good situation. Very easy to get dehydrated. Now, hypo. Hype you won't use very much, so if in doubt, use hypo. So it means under, below, beneath, less than normal. It is the opposite of hyper. So hypoxemia, emia, a blood condition of less than normal oxygen. Hypoglycemia, a blood condition of less than normal sugar. Hypoglossal, literally pertaining to under or beneath the tongue. Now I'll be alternating between using our literal definitions, where we start with the suffix and jump to the prefix if there is one, and then continue through the rest of the word elements left in the word. Now, and as we get more relaxed, more confident in the language, we can get a little bit more slack and be a little bit more informal. So the literal definition pertaining to under the tongue, the relaxed definition under the tongue. So if I ask you on a test for the literal, make sure you define that suffix first. Multi means many, as in multipara. Multipara. It is not multipara. I guarantee you I'm going to ask this and questions like it on tests. So it is not multipara. 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 So that P wishes to be at the end of a syllable. It does not want to start a syllable. So multipara. And so multipara is a woman who has technically many births, but in reality she has had 2 or more pregnancies of a certain time frame. Polly, much or many. So think of Polly the parrot. Polly wants many crackers. So polyarthritis, you know, itis means inflammation. Arthro means joint. So polyarthritis is inflammation of many joints. Polyuria is a condition of much or many urine. And in reality, the person has to go to the bathroom many times in a given time frame. Now, look at these next two. Here we got some twins. We've got some prefixes that can be recycled, upcycled, and they can also be made into combining forms. So sometimes we want it to be a prefix, other times we might need it to be a combining form in order to not violate the rule that every medical word has a suffix, every medical word has a root. So macro means large, and you knew micro meant small. So macrocephaly, Y is the process of, cephalo means head, so this person has a large head. Microscope, you know, is an instrument used to view small things. Octi means 8, as in octopus. So octipara, not octipari, octipara is someone who has had 8 births. So kind of like the old TV show, The Waltons, or maybe the one you've seen, 8 is enough. So octipara, octipara. Centi means 1/100th. So centimeter. Now here is an exception to our rule. Here we will say centimeter. We will not say centimeter like we say pelvimeter or thermometer. Centimeter for some reason is an exception. So centimeter is the exception, not the rule. So centi is 1/100th, so a centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. Kilo means watt, and so kilowatts, someone has 1,000 watts of power. Now, dipl is the prefix, and I don't know about you, but I cannot say that very easily. So I prefer to use the twin diplo. Diplo. So like micro and micro has can be a prefix, can be a combining form. We have the same thing here. And I prefer the twin, that is diplo. So diplo means double. So diplopia, someone has double vision. Deca means 10. So a decade has 10 years. Cent means 100. So a century is 100 years. Deci means 1/10. So a deciliter is 1/10 of a liter. Penta means 5. So you might have heard of pentagrams. So a pentagram is a 5-pointed star. Now, I have quadru, this combining form quadru, in your notes because somewhere in the book they use the phrase quadruped. And the only way to make quadruped fit the rule that every medical word has a root, every medical word has a suffix. Well, if ped is the suffix, which means foot, we got to have a combining form. So this is the only way to make it work. So don't ever use this unless you see the word quadruped. Now, quadri can be a prefix. Quadri can also be a combining form. So again, you know that these two are combining forms because there is a slash followed by a vowel. So to maintain our rules that every medical word has a root, every medical word has a suffix, we have to break quadriplegia up into one of these two fashions. If you want to use quad as a prefix, then you have to say the suffix is ia, which makes plego, the root pleg, P-L-E-G, that makes it the root. So combine them together, quadriplegia. Now, some people like to say that plegia is a suffix and that plegia is a word all to itself, like nia. So if you are of the school that plegia is the suffix, then in order to have a root, we have to pull out of our flashcard deck quadri. So every medical word has a root, every medical word has a suffix.